Everybody, my name's Hannah Higley and I'm the Future Careers Manager at Minerals Matter. I'm just going to spend a few minutes explaining a little bit more about the minerals industry before you hear from some of the fantastic people that work in the sector. So Minerals Matter brings together the quarrying, mineral products and mining sector to work together and tackle some of the issues that the industry faces. And that's particularly around bringing new people and young people into the sector. It's a very historic sector, which means there's quite a lot of people that have worked in the industry from maybe when they left school and they've enjoyed it so much that they've carried on working throughout their lives, which is fantastic. And with that, we do get sort of new people coming into the industry. But because the industry is quite hidden and people don't necessarily know a lot about it, we do a lot of work with education and with schools to help young people understand more about the industry and how they can get involved. So we share lots of information and stories about people who have careers in the industry, but we also share more about what the industry is and how important the industry is to your everyday lives. So a lot of the products that you use, technology, even your glass when you're having your drink in the morning, we need minerals from the ground, essentially, to create those products. So hopefully today you'll come away knowing a little bit more about the industry, but also some of the routes into the industry, particularly with apprenticeships. So just to explain a little bit more about what the industry is, we basically, the minerals industry is all about quarrying and mineral extraction, so taking the minerals that we need every day from the ground. There's two ways that we do that. We either do that through what's called quarrying, which is where we're taking minerals and extractives above the ground. And there's also mining, which you may have heard more about if you play Minecraft and things like that. And that's where we're doing exactly the same, but we're doing it underground. So if you hear the terms quarrying and mining, they essentially mean the same thing, which is that we're taking essential minerals and product from the ground, which is then used for all sorts of different sectors to build and to create products that we need every day. And then just to explain some of the materials that we extract, what they're called, we have aggregates, asphalt, which is essentially what is used to create roads. So you may think of that as tarmac, cement, clay, concrete, which is obviously used for building, limestone, salts, and then we also mine precious and critical minerals such as lithium, which is used for batteries, titanium, nickel, obviously gold and silver, sort of jewelry as well. So it's a really, really vast industry and a really important industry. So when we're thinking about different pathways into the sector and what young people can start to think about in terms of their career, there's many different routes into the industry, whether you're coming to the end of your time at school, if you're a graduate, if you're even just a little bit older but you're wanting a career change. There's lots of opportunities from apprenticeships, there's degree apprenticeships, there's university courses, or there's entry-level roles that you can start once you've finished your studies. Loads of different job opportunities as well. There's operational roles where you're responsible for that extraction of the minerals or getting understanding what minerals there are, which is sort of a geologist's role, actually looking at the earth and where the minerals come from. But also, the companies that we work with are all businesses that need business functions as well. So marketing, finance, recruitment, getting people into the industry, social media, sustainability. So there's so many different opportunities in the sector. So I think it's important for young people not to just think it's one thing about, getting the minerals from the ground. There's so much more that goes into it as well. So when we're thinking about apprenticeships, some of the apprenticeships that are available with some of the key companies within the sector include engineering. We need lots of different engineers who can help maintain the equipment that's used on sites. Mobile and static plant, that's the operational side of the industry. So actually working on site on a quarry to extract that material. Operations management, so making sure that the sites run well every day, project management, administration, customer service agents. We've got, like I said, people in sustainability, marketing. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. What I would suggest to find out more about what apprenticeships there are available is to find out a little bit more about some of the companies that there are in the industry, and have a look on their websites. A lot of them will have specific careers sections on their website to find out more about what opportunities there are available. Some of the big companies that we work with that do offer apprenticeships, and you'll hear a little bit more from people who work for some of those companies, are companies called Tarmac, Breeden, Holcim, Heidelberg Materials and Cemex. They're within the quarrying side of the industry. They all offer apprenticeships. And there's also some large mining companies that have bases in the UK, and they include Anglo American, ICL and Rio Tinto. So even if your first step is just to go on their websites and have a little look at what they offer, that just helps you understand a little bit more about what opportunities there are available. And then just to wrap up, really, to have a think about why the sector is attractive to young people, particularly if young people don't know too much about the industry. Why would they think about going into that over, another industry that they might know a little bit more about? So just to sort of highlight some of the benefits of the industry, I guess, first of all, it's understanding how critical the industry is for everyday life. So without the industry, you don't get the concrete or the bricks to build houses, schools, hospitals. You don't get the lithium for batteries that make electric vehicles. You don't get the sand that creates the glass that you have in the morning. So when you start to kind of relate it back to your lives, you start to understand just how important the industry is. But also there's a lot of things that the industry can offer, particularly to young people at the start of their career journey. So it's a very collaborative industry. It's very inclusive. I've been in the industry for just over 2 years now. And I've met some of the nicest people who are just so willing to help. They want to see people succeed in the industry, and they give them time to do that and help support them. So if you're wanting to work with a good mix of people, this is 100% the industry for that. And sort of relating to that, there's structured personal development plans for people coming into the industry, particularly on apprenticeships or graduate programs. Companies will invest in those young people to keep them and keep them, maybe progressing up and moving through different roles, but they certainly don't want them to come in as an apprentice and then find something else and leave. So there's personal development plans that are put in place to support people coming in. We look at a lot of the kind of big challenges that there are facing not only the UK, but the world as well. So climate change, sustainability, there's projects specific to that, which obviously we know young people have got a real interest in. So you could be working on a project that is actually going to help our future, which is really exciting. And then there's the variety of the kind of working environment. So you could be working outside. If you're interested in exploration and you want to look more at rocks and the geology of rocks, you could be traveling around doing that. If you enjoy an office environment, there's offices all over the country and the world that you can be working from. But if also you're interested in kind of remote working, there's those opportunities too. So it's really varied what you can do. Like I said, it's a global industry. So if you're looking to travel, there's that opportunity. There's very, very big presence of mining, in particular in Australia, in Canada, in South Africa. So we do get quite a lot of people that maybe go for secondments abroad or choose to move to a different country to work in the industry. And finally, with regards to salary, because we understand how important it is for young people to kind of aspire to a good wage. So particularly for hire apprentices, they can earn almost double the national minimum wage through this industry. So it is an industry that pays fairly. You could say it pays well, but there's obviously that is a bonus for young people when they're starting to think about what they might like to do. So hopefully that's just helped to share a little bit more about the sector and some of the benefits and how you can sort of progress through the apprenticeship route. And you will now hear from some of our colleagues from across the sector with more information about apprenticeships in the industry.
So welcome back. It's National Apprenticeship Week all week here on the Career Friendly programme, and we've been meeting up with organisations talking about their apprenticeship programme and also speaking to some apprentices as well. But next up, we're on with Ethel from, I think we're calling it Heidelberg Materials. I hope I've got that right, Ethel.
It's Heidelberg Materials.
Perfect, I got that right. So, Ethel, thank you so much for joining us during a busy week this for apprenticeships and getting a lot of young people inspired to join companies as apprentices. You know, we still want to do a big push on that. And I'm really looking forward to this because I must admit, before this interview, I didn't know too much about your organisation. So let's start with that. So let's start with what you actually do there.
So, hi everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this really important and exciting week. I'm Ethel Diamond. I'm the Talent and Development Advisor at Heidelberg Materials. And Heidelberg Materials is one of the world's largest suppliers of heavy building materials, employing approximately 51,000 people at around 3,000 sites in over 50 countries. In the UK alone, we have over 250 sites, and it's a really important industry. Our core products are aggregates, cement, concrete, asphalt, which are used in some of the largest construction projects across the globe. How did you get to school today? How did you get to work today? Imagine what the world would be like if we didn't have asphalt, concrete, cement, aggregates. Check out the Minerals Matter website as well to find out how much of these mineral products resources are used by every single person every day.
And you're responsible, I believe, for the apprenticeship program. I'm sure you have a team of people doing this because it's a lot of work to recruit and obviously put people on programs. But talk us through what if someone wanted to join you, Ethel, what that process looks like for your organisation. Because every company's got slightly different nuances about how they bring people into their organisation. But for an apprentice, what's that process look like? What do they need to do?
So we have an array of apprenticeships, which we do at various times, and we've split them into two different types. So we've got our apprenticeships level 2 and 3, which are quite specialist. So, for example, if you wanted to do a career in electrical or mechanical fittering, to be an electrical or mechanical fitter, or a lab technician, or material processing plant, what we refer to on site as mobile plant. That's the big machinery that you see. So for those level, quite specialist, apply online through our careers website, which is www.careers.heidelbergmaterials.co.uk, or via the government website, the National Apprenticeship Service. And then you submit your application, clicking on the vacancy you want, attach a cover letter and your CV, highlighting your qualifications, your skills and experience, and the reason why you want to apply to us. If your application meets the initial criteria, you'll then be invited to an interview to help us find out more about you and to learn about your skills and competencies and experience. Then after the interview, you'll find out whether you're successful or not. We have some additional steps for our higher apprenticeships, which is a level 4 like a HNC, or a level 5 like a HND, or a degree apprenticeship. Again, apply through our career website, www.careers.heidelbergmaterials.co.uk, or via the government website. submit your application. This additional step that we have is a pre-recorded interview, which is great because it means you get to see the questions in advance and practice them before you submit your recording. This allows us to get to know you a little bit better, find out how you communicate, what motivates you, and why you think you're suitable for the role. Then we have another step where we invite you to the site, where you get to see where you could be working. You get a tour of the site, you meet the team, you get to ask questions. We call this an insight day. So you get an insight into what we do, and also we get to learn more about you as well. You may be asked to prepare something in advance for this meeting, but don't worry, we'll give you all the information in advance. So altogether, a fun and engaging day. Then you'll find out your application outcome. And the beauty of this is our application window tends to be open from October to February for a September intake. So you'd have, if you're doing your final exams in school, you'll have your all your interviews done and dusted before the exam periods start, and you'll have your offer letter and contract in the bag, hopefully, before you go into your exams, so you know what you need to achieve. And then you can enjoy your summer and start with us in September.
So do you have any advice for applicants looking for an opportunity at your organisation? How can we help them, not just in this role, let's be honest, we want to help them in any role they apply for, but what can they put on their CV or on their cover letter that'll make them stand out and make you want to see them?
Excellent question. Thank you. Yes, state the things that you've been involved in. Have you done any volunteering work? Have you done any projects? You might not think anything of it, but it does demonstrate the skills and the attitude and the aptitude that you have. So it doesn't matter how big or small that is. We've made things a little easier for you. Please check out our careers website, where we've got tips and videos from people who've been on our programs, their tips and videos and advice on what to do to prepare your application and prepare for the recruitment process with us to be successful.
What a great opportunity for a young person, because I suspect you've seen them start with you, maybe in the UK, and then travel overseas. That's quite plausible, isn't it?
It is. It's a really exciting opportunity. But the brilliant thing about us is we're not just saying we're improving sustainability. We're doing it. We will be the first in the world to enable fully decarbonised cement production, which is so fantastic and really exciting.
Ethel, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ethel, for sharing more about apprenticeships at Heidelberg Materials and the way that young people can find out more about the opportunities and routes into the industry, as well as the range of different opportunities that there are available.
So welcome back. This is a National Apprenticeship Week, and all week we've been talking to companies about their apprenticeship programme and also some of the apprentices as well. And I've been delighted now to be joined by Ella from Tarmac. Hi, Ella.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. You obviously work from Tarmac, we can see that, but tell us a little bit about your job there. What do you do?
So I'm Ella Cox and I work at Tunstead, working for Tarmac, which is a site based in the heart of the Peak District near Buxton. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. So what does that involve on a day-to-day basis?
So from day to day, my job varies really, which is great for me because you've constantly got something motivating you, some drive, because love a bit of work ethic. So you could go from loading trains to doing admin work. That could be like COSH or working through regulations and things. And it just gives you a very vast variety of subject areas are covered. So yeah, really widens your, horizon as an individual.
Yeah, and when people think of tarmac, it isn't just tarmac that you ship, is it? There's all sorts of materials that are going out from there, yeah?
Yeah, so here, specifically at Tunstead, we don't actually make tarmac or asphalt as a plant. We are more like products straight like raw materials. So that's like your gravel, which is probably wider known as, and stone as opposed to road laying.
Brilliant. How do you get into this? Because I must admit, it doesn't seem like your typical career if you're sat there in school in year 10. When do you first sort of take an interest in this industry?
So from where I live, it's got quite a history of mining. So we've got like on some of our farm, we've got some mine shafts. So quarrying's always been something that's interested me, but I never for 1 minute thought I'd actually get into it. Because farming's always been my aspiration as such. But yeah, I'm really glad I've chose this pathway.
Yeah. And when did you first see the advert and what was that process like for you?
So some of my family contract for Tarmac, and it was just a spur of the moment thing. One day I just thought, "Do you know what, I'll have a look on the website," and so went through a few different like options, and then I saw this one and I thought, oh, I'll give it a go, and yeah, I've never looked back since, to be honest.
And just talk us through the application process because you're doing a level 2, aren't you? So, what do you have to do to be successful and get that job?
So pretty much I applied my CV, sent that in, and then I got some feedback about my first interview. I went and did that. That was just online, like a Teams call. And then once you got through that, you got invited into Tunstead House for a second interview. I went there, met my current line manager and some other people that I work with now. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Had a site tour, and then a couple of months later I was here.
And can you remember that first day? What was it? Could anything prepare you for that? Because you've come from like school and education into this. Were you kind of ready for it?
To be honest, I didn't quite know what to expect, but everyone here is so welcoming. I can't even, it's astonishing, really. You just instantly feel part of a team. It's, yeah, something quite special.
What's the progression look like? Because you're doing level 2. I think you said earlier you sort of 18 months or a year into that, but you've still got another few months to go. What happens at the end of that 2 years?
So currently I am doing an NVQ in locomotive activities. That's through a PODP course, which is like a course we do within Tarmac where new starters go to, which is also really helpful because you get to meet people that are in the same boat as you. So, I've met people along the way that I'll know forever, sort of thing. So by the end of my course, once I've finished my MVQ and all that, I'll probably be looking into moving up a stage. So whether that's higher apprentice or whatever it could be.
Some of your friends who I'm sure you've kept in touch with who've gone to college, are you looking at them now and thinking, I made the right decision? That wasn't for me, going to college, continuing my studies. This is what I wanted to do, really.
Yeah, this is definitely the best option for me personally. And on a personal level, I have never really enjoyed school. So to be able to study with something that you're actually interested in, it doesn't feel like studying. So, it all ties in with your day-to-day job.
And just finally, for any young person and parents as well, to be honest, because they're a big factor in this, who are, concerned about the apprenticeship route, maybe they're thinking it's not, it's like a plan B almost.
Yeah.
I think you probably want to say something about that, really, don't you? Because that's not quite the case, is it at all?
No, I think it's really beneficial for young people because it gets you into the industry at a young age, and you don't necessarily have to, you're never stuck anywhere. So like I said before, you can make what you want of your apprenticeship. If you want to go in that direction, you can go there. And yeah, I think it's great. And you get paid along the way, which usually influences younger people. So yeah, I think it's gets some bad stigma for what the potentials of an apprenticeship actually is.
And this sector you've joined, Ella, is it everything you thought it was and then some?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. I've met some great people. There's constantly something new, and it's never ending really. There's always doors open, options, ways to better yourself. It's great.
Thank you so much, Ella.
Thanks to Ella for sharing more about her journey into an apprenticeship with Tarmac. It was great to hear more about why she decided to go down that route rather than university. So I think there's lots of really great messages there for young people.
So welcome back to National Apprenticeship Week here on the Career Friendly programme. We are meeting companies all week, and today we've had some fantastic guests already. Delighted now to speak to Llouis from ICL Group. Hi, Llouis.
Hello.
You work for ICL Group, as we've mentioned, and you're a senior apprentice surveyor. Before we get into your story, just tell me a bit about ICL and also a bit about your job role there. Thanks.
No problem. ICL, a global company, Israeli owned, and they're a chemicals group largely, but the role in which I work at is Boubly mine, which is the first and only polyhalite mine in production. And I, as a surveyor, our main role at Boubly is to prevent any inrush happening. And a lot of what we do is essentially planning and setting out the underground workings.
So that's a little bit about what you do, and obviously that makes sense because you're parts of the minerals industry. Just tell me, how did you get into this? Because I suspect when you were year 10, like a lot of the audience watching, you didn't know too much about ICL Group.
No, exactly that. Realistically, it was just purely went into college, and from there chose to take a completely different career path than what I'm on now. And I found that when I was looking for jobs, I struggled purely based on that I was on a full-time college course with no experience behind it. So I looked out for apprenticeships and seen a mining surveyor role, and I had no idea mines were still going. So from there, I just had a little bit of a research myself and had a look at what surveyors do in general, and then also in mining. And I thought that would be a really good fit for my type of role in what I would like to do, because I'm quite hands-on, but also then a lot of it is quite computer-based as well. So that was where I sort of found out from ICL and took on where I am now.
An apprenticeship route as well. Is that something that you learnt about later after leaving school, about those options that were available to you, and realizing that you could actually learn and earn?
Yeah, I think in school a lot of it is pushed towards a college and then a university route, but I've always heard about apprenticeships and stuff like that, but I'd never really sort of delved into it. And from that point, when I did sort of find out about it and what it was about and the funding from an employer whilst being able to learn and also then be hands-on on site, it just seemed like a no-brainer. It seemed like the type of thing that was just perfect for anybody really. I suppose that you have the opportunity there from an employer to be funded, employed, and then have like a sort of I assume that you can sort of move forward then and have the theoretical behind you and also the hands-on experience within your workplace. So I thought that was just perfect.
And how far are you into it, and what level are you on, Llouis?
I'm not too far from the end now, but my qualification that I will get at the end is a level 4, so HNC. And due to it being in surveying that I work, there isn't really any massively surveying orientated courses apart from degree level. So my course that I would will get the qualification for is a civil site engineering technician, which does have surveying within that course. And then obviously when I'm at work, I can work on the surveying side of it as well. But like I said, it gives you the sort of opportunity to, whether it be in mining or civil engineering, you've got both backgrounds behind you. So like I said, in terms of an apprenticeship, you couldn't sort of ask for anything more, because you've got a lot of opportunity either side on whether it is mining or a civil engineering.
So you seem to have quite a number of options open to you now once you have passed. And how are you finding the studying? Because it's not a cakewalk, this, is it? You've got to do the job, you've got to do your 9 to 5, and then you've got to do some studying, presumably one day a week. How you how are you fitting it all in?
To be fair, first I did struggle, because it's a strange dynamic to come in from either being in full-time college or full-time work. But when you've got a good support network at work, and when you're at college, you meet people that on the same course that you sort of have the opportunity to speak to, and if you're a bit unsure of something, that you can sort of ask for help. But like I said, it's been great, and now that I'm a lot further into it now, I've really come a long way. So I'm very much settled with it now, and I couldn't sort of have anything better to say about an apprenticeship.
Was that the biggest surprise to you, I suppose, on your first day when you got to the gates or to the entrance? Your vision of what it was going to look like versus what it was that a complete surprise to you?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of what I thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to be like a hole in the ground, and it was going to be complete and utter confined spaces and dark and awful. And in actual fact, it's such a modern industry now. And obviously not having worked in it prior to my current career, I couldn't tell you exactly what it was like, but I know that through a lot of people who are very experienced who work alongside, they said that years ago a lot of mining was very much awful and a very dirty industry. However, nowadays there's so much in place that has to be followed in terms of environmental type side of things that it just can't happen. But it is such a strange environment to come into, and I think a lot of people, if they had a chance to visit a mine, would see mining for what it really is, and something that I think would be very important for young people, and I suppose everybody really that doesn't know much about mining. When I first ever started at Boubly, we got shown a TED talk by Llouis, which is called "Mining Our Way to a Low Carbon Future," and she talks very much about how everyone has buzzwords that associated with mining. It very much isn't that way, and she had a really good talk that I would recommend anybody listening to, because it completely flipped my outlook on mining from the second I walked into Boubly on my first day.
How can they make sure that their application stands out?
I think personally, from my background, I started out as a joiner whilst I was in college studying a completely different vocation, and from that, I think me personally, I had quite a bit of a background of hands-on work and sort of, I assume in a sense, sort of like physical work. But I think that doesn't necessarily mean that nobody can get into mining, whether that is from a safety standpoint or environmental. There's so many jobs and roles within mining that there's always a way in, or there's a career path for everybody. And I think it's just it's about trying to get yourself out there. And there's a lot of, I suppose, if people are studying, there's a lot of placements that are available across the UK in different mines, in different mining environments, whether that's UK, Scotland, or any Wales or anywhere like that. There's a lot of mines still around, and they'd be more than happy, because I don't think a lot of people realise how scarce people are in mining. I think that you've got a lot of older generations who were in mining for the whole life that are still sort of around, but you always need new young people, fresh people coming in that are excited about the sector and are looking forward to the future and trying to push mining into colleges and things like that.
Llouis, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Llouis, for sharing more about your role as an apprentice with ICL Boubly. Again, it was great to find out more about why you chose this pathway and the benefits that you get from being on the apprenticeship programme. Thank you to everyone for watching our Minerals Matter broadcast today for National Apprenticeship Week. We hope you've learnt more about the fantastic industry that we work in, some of the different opportunities that there are available to young people, and some of the benefits of working in the industry. And maybe you've learnt a few things that you didn't already know about the industry and some of the great work that we're involved in every day.